thanks for watching the Drawing for Adults class brought to you by the Ann Arbor District Library and the Ann Arbor Art Center. Today we're going to be using acrylic painting to create a landscape that has a winter tree and a starry, colorful sky, as you can see here. You can also, once it's dry, use a white colored pencil or some other kind of drawing medium to create these little doodly stars that you see. But you don't have to, you can also just use your acrylic paint. So speaking of paints, we need to go ahead and pick our color palette. So you can see here, I'm going to create like this fun little doodle here that has all sorts of different drawings and everything. But the top one is a dark blue, so you could use Prussian with ultramarine blue plus a little bit of black or burnt umber such as brown, or brown such as burnt umber, and then cerulean blue or brilliant blue, magenta plus a bit of white, and ultramarine blue to get a little bit more of a purpley pink, a yellow orange, so use yellow with a little bit of red or a little bit of orange, and then a black. Now if you don't want to use black straight out of the tube, you can also once again you can mix ultramarine blue plus burnt umber, which is a brown, to make a really nice black that's mixed rather than using it straight out of the tube. So what I want you to do with that dark blue is practice making some brush strokes that are really choppy like this. Now this is a little tricky. One thing I love being able to teach you all digitally, but sometimes things don't work so well. So if you notice here, the paint just kind of, the marks just lay right on top of one another, whereas if you were doing this on canvas or on paper with acrylic paint, you would see a much more blending happening as you create these brush strokes. I will be able to create that kind of more blended look, so you'll see that really come together in a bit, but for now it's gonna look a little bit off until I make the little blended effect basically. But you can still see regardless how I am layering the dark blue with the lighter cerulean or brilliant blue to try to integrate the dark blue with the lighter blue, but also kind of fade it so that it's a nice transition. So I'm going to keep working my way down with the pinks as well as the oranges. So I have expedited my time-lapse video just a little bit for this part, but again, you will see a little bit more blending happening where the colors will start to transition into each other a little bit more smoothly, whereas mine looks a little bit more choppy. And there's a balance, of course, between getting it too smooth where everything's perfectly blended and having more prominent brushwork. So here I am kind of blending it out, so it's okay if yours does get this blended, but if you feel like it's too blended, go back and repeat the process. Do kind of a rinse and repeat kind of situation. And you can see how I am darkening up the corners here with some more dark blue right on top of that black to help really get a nice deep dark blue, and without also overwhelming my sky with so much black. Black can be really powerful, and so you want to limit the use of that black. All of a sudden it can overwhelm your painting. So worst case, let it dry for a little bit, let it sit for a minute or two, and by minute or two I mean probably like 10 or 20 minutes, just to make sure that is fully dry before going back and adding more paint on top. So again, I kind of did that first layer of paint, and now you're seeing the second layer coming back on top here just to help make this whole this textured brush painterly sky kind of effect really come together, and also just the layering of color so that it's a nice complex field of color in my sky rather than it just being a flat one layered painting. Now you don't have to do a moon at all. I'm gonna do a moon in mine, and you can of course vary the shape. But what I'm first going to do is just paint it to be white, and then once that dries, then I'm going to add that nice yellow orange that we mixed into it. And then again, if you want to kind of blend it into the sky a little bit so that it looks like maybe there's kind of clouds that are covering it, or it's just a softer edged moon, because everything right now is very painterly. You can see some of my brush work and everything. It's not very exact, and so having something with really clear, precise edges might look a little bit off. It just depends on your painting. So you can see I'm trying to kind of fudge mine a little bit to look a little bit more painterly. Again, tricky to do digitally, but that's okay. And then what I'm doing is I'm putting a few little dots of a light blue. So some of my light blue mixed with my white, about maybe half and half or so, if anything a little bit more white. And then I'm putting these little dots, and then later I'm gonna draw on top of them with those colored pencils. So you can see I've kind of started that process just to give you a little bit of a teaser of what that's gonna look like. But I'm gonna go ahead here and move on to my ground line. So you can of course vary your ground line as much as you want. I would recommend you know, having a lot of different colors. So I mixed with my green, with my blue and my yellow, I made a green. And then I'm also coming in with my black to create a nice outline, some little stripey, again, just a stylized kind of painting here that, again, if you want to create it to be a little bit more painterly or it blends into each of the colors rather than being a super precise, clear-cut edge, that is up to you. So then I'm just going to continue with these little stars in the sky, and then I will start on my tree once all of that is done. I don't really want to have to come back in after I have painted this tree and then start trying to paint the stars around it. So I really recommend trying to resolve the sky before you move on to the tree. So once you're ready for the tree, grab a pencil and start sketching a tree. Again, we're going to go for something a little bit more stylized here, so don't worry about getting it too realistic, but make sure that you think about just the natural way that a tree would bend and grow, and so that those little branches, as they get further away from that main tree trunk, should be getting smaller and smaller. And so when you attach a smaller branch onto another branch, just make sure that it kind of looks like it's naturally coming off of one and then making it smaller as it gets further and further away. So, and then of course having also some that are overlapping and kind of intertwining with the rest. I hope you enjoyed today's video and that you will tune in with me next time.